Hi, welcome to another Sporting Communities podcast. Sporting Communities are a community interest company. We are an ethical, non-for-profit organisation which services range from sports coaching, youth work, mentors and family support. We are a training academy delivering a range of qualifications, and we also have art and play services. Today, we're again going to be focusing on the mental health side of lockdown, things that we can help you with, any sort of questions that we've been sent in. And hopefully helping you guys out. So again, we'll do quick introductions. So I'm James. If you haven't heard this before, I've been with Sporting Communities now for a couple of years, mainly going out into communities and delivering sports sessions. But obviously, as that's not available at the minute, recording these podcasts for you guys so that you can listen and hopefully enjoy them. This week, we are joined by Ed, Martine and Denzel. So if we can have quick introductions from you guys, starting with you, Martine.
Hi, I'm Martine. I work for Sporting Communities as a community support and engagement worker. I've been working with Sporting Communities since July. I'm also a mental health first aider and a UK athletics leader in running fitness, which allows me to provide group running sessions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Martine. And coming to you, Ed.
Hi everyone, yeah, I'm Ed. I'm the Derbyshire Development Officer for Sporting Communities. That involves organising some sessions, making sure they're running smoothly, and also attending some of the sessions as a coach myself and engaging with the young people. I'm also a badminton coach and a personal trainer as well. So, yeah. Great
stuff. And last but not least, Denzel.
Thanks, James. Yeah, hi guys. My name's Denzel. I'm a youth engagement worker with Sporting Communities. I've been with them for a good few months now. And I'm also a football coach for Beeston FC.
So this week we are going to be talking about the tiered system and whether we think it's working, any sort of changes and stuff that we think might happen as of the 15th and 16th when it gets announced by the government. Obviously, they're talking about potentially different cities might go from tier to tier. So whether we think that's likely or not. And then we're just going to talk quickly about if someone confides in you, comes to you and says that they're struggling potentially with their mental health, maybe they're struggling with anxiety, maybe they're just struggling to take in all of the changes that are happening constantly at the minute due to COVID. If they come to you, sort of the things to say, the questions to ask and how to react to them so that you can hopefully help that situation rather than obviously make it worse. So yeah, they're the things that we're going to cover this week. So starting with the tiered system, obviously we are now in the 3 tiers. Pretty much the whole country is in tier 3, I believe. Although there are some places in tier 2, and then I think 3 in the country that are in tier 1. So I suppose firstly, do we think it's working? And do we sort of envisage that any of these are going to change come the 15th and 16th when the changes get announced? So starting with you, Ed, do we think it's working? Do we agree with it? Do we think potentially that we came out of lockdown too soon, too late? And do we think there'll be any changes come the middle of December?
Well, personally, I just think that I think it gets to a stage where you almost get a bit confused and lost with it. So personally, from my point of view, I've sort of just made sure I stuck to the rules for one, but I've tried not to really think about it too much. I've tried to occupy my lifestyle and myself with things that I know are within the rules that are going to try and keep me busy. And obviously I'm trying to keep up with the general news around it, and I'm trying to keep up with the big announcements and any changes in the rules. But in terms of how it's affected me, I mean, not that much, to be perfectly honest. I'm, like I say, sticking with the rules. I'm staying in, when's necessary, sticking to the necessities that I need to go out for, still exercising, still making sure I'm getting out, for my own mental health and, going on runs, doing, different circuit routines in my house. But I think it's working? From what I've seen on the news, probably not. I mean, obviously, in last week's podcast, we talked around the vaccine, and I think it was today that, the first person did get the vaccine. So, that's positive news.
Yeah.
which is good. So if things look on the up, and then it's sort of a case of just waiting for them, big announcements. But judging from the figures that are still being thrown out, I don't think it's working too well, because the numbers don't seem to be dropping too much.
Yeah.
So I think even if we were to drop a tier into tier 2, I'd still be quite hesitant to do the things that I'd probably be like to do. Yeah, that's really my point of view. So not really change much, trying to stay positive, keeping myself busy within the rules and what I'm allowed to do.
Yeah, fab. What do you think about it, Martine? What's your opinions?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think we need to give it more time. I don't think you can judge whether it's working or not working until we've given it a bit longer. I don't think we was in the tier system long enough last time to see how it was working. We weren't in lockdown, I don't think, long enough, and now we've gone into a tier system again. I think we've got to give it time, and everybody's got to try and be patient and keep following the rules. And I think at this time of year, it is difficult, isn't it? It is difficult. People are not wanting to give up the things that they would usually do this time of year to stick to the rules.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think Ed alluded to it as well, that like there's been so many changes. It's actually hard to keep up with what the rules now are. And so I think some people almost think, well, what can I do? What can't I do? And obviously from my personal point of view, obviously as you guys know, I'm a retail manager. So my store has been back open since last week, and certain days have been busier than others. I have to say we were very busy over the weekend, and footfall was very high in the centre. Now, according to the tier 3 guidelines, you shouldn't really be going out unless it's essential. Now, we are a non-essential shop, so in theory, we should have no customers, but we have got lots of customers. And on a weekend, we have lots and lots of customers. So there's lots of people going out and still doing their shopping and bits like that. And I do understand why they're going out, because there's nowhere else to go to. So if they are ever going to meet up, where are they going to meet up? They're going to be meeting in shopping centres and places like that, because it's the only place they can go inside where it's actually warm, and they can meet up with people they potentially don't live with and actually do stuff. In my opinion, it's almost worse in the tier 3 places for shopping and bits like that, because of the fact that restaurants aren't open. Because if restaurants were open, I actually felt like restaurants and places like that were doing a pretty decent job of keeping people safe. I know during the previous tier system, like you said, Martin, I never felt like it got enough sort of time to work, because whenever I went out to a restaurant, I felt safe. I was always distanced away from everyone else. I felt like everything was being cleaned constantly, and I never felt in danger at all when I was in a restaurant. So I'm not too sure why restaurants can't be open. Even if they said you can open a restaurant, but we can't serve alcohol because they seem to have an issue with that, perhaps that'd be something they could look at. But I don't know. It just, when I was in the shopping centre over the weekend, there was a lot of people about, and it kind of made me question how many of these people actually live together, to be honest. And like you say, unfortunately, if people don't follow the rules, these tier systems aren't going to work.
Yeah. Go on, Martine, sorry.
No, so I was just going to agree.
Yeah, I think it's just the mixed messages, isn't it? It's around the government saying one thing and then the actions being something else, and especially in the tiers. I mean, fans being allowed into football stadiums now, I think, it's great for the fans, great for football, but again, it's around the mixed messages that sends. It's very confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a couple of the football matches the other day, and I think it was at Tottenham that their stadium holds like 60 odd thousand or something, and there's 2,000, but they're all in one stand. So to me, that doesn't make any sense, because if you're going to have one stand open for 2,000, you might as well have 4 stands open and have 2,000 in each, so that 8,000 people can go. Yeah, if they're all in one stand, to me that makes no sense. It just I can't get the logic around it. And then you've got a stadium that only holds 5,000 people, but they can still have 2,000. To me, that makes no sense at all. But I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say I know all the answers, because I certainly don't. But I do think a lot of the things that come out are confusing, and that's where a lot of the problems come from, because people don't fully understand actually what they should be following.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the confusion is what causes a lot of problems. People are relating it to themselves, and like hairdressers and restaurateurs, they're all confused at why certain people can do things that seem not safe, and then they're not allowed to open when they perfectly are safe. And I think that's when people start to get confused by it all, not want to follow the rules anymore. And yeah, I think that's why things don't work.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I just think there needs to be a little bit more clarification around it, and then perhaps people would follow the rules a little bit better. Coming to you, Dens, what's your opinions?
Yeah, I understand that they're trying to obviously ease us back into a normal sort of, society. But I mean, last time it didn't really seem to work too well with all these tier rules. And I just think, me personally, I think we should either obviously be in lockdown or we shouldn't. And what you were saying as I just joined, the whole tier system in the football stadiums and that, it just seems like it's almost moving backwards in a way. It's quite confusing. Like, there's all these different rules in place, and there's all these places that are still closed, but then there's people that are then congregating elsewhere, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, me personally, it's affected me in terms of my gameplay, and also because of the borough that I'm in. It doesn't make sense how I can train, but I can't play in the game against teams from elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's so confusing, really.
I also think from a like mental health point, it's like Martine's mentioned about a lot of the hairdressers and beauty salons, questioning why one thing can open but not the other, and we've had that in the past. And it's just, it makes people quite anxious on one hand, that what the future holds for them in terms of when they do open, and what the customers, and dealing with the customers, and the customers that they do have, if they have any questions about the rules as well, because everyone feels like they need to know every rule, and they don't, not by no fault of their own, just by the confusion. And then also, I feel like it can get a lot of people down as well, because when everything's open, it almost takes that choice away from a lot of people. So if someone sees everyone else going out to the shops and, enjoying themselves and doing, especially this time of year around Christmas, and doing Christmas shopping, but you just want to err on the side of safety and not take that risk, or potentially your high risk to the virus. I think it can play a big part in getting people down when they're seeing that on the news, or just experiencing it from family and friends or neighbors, people within their communities. When they're talking around it, I think people can often feel a lot left out almost.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a good point, and I think, like you say, people's mental health and stuff like that are going to suffer from it. So it's important that people again stick together and just try to help each other out as much as possible. Quick question for you guys: if let's say Derby was to go into tier 2, so you're allowed to go out and you're allowed to go for a meal and bits like that and stay out till 11 o'clock, would you go out or not? Would you feel comfortable going out?
So me personally, I am living with someone who potentially is high risk. So for me, I wouldn't, because I've got that I've got to think about as well. So I try not to think about it too much as a choice. I've made my mind up, and I've stuck with it, that I'm not going to do that until I feel comfortable doing something like that. And again, with the vaccine rolling out, today, it's, I'm starting to feel a bit more positive about it. But for me personally, I won't be. But I just feel like I've got to be quite disciplined with it. And no matter what, I know that maybe in a few, weeks, months, I'm not sure how long, but I'm sure it won't be that much longer that I've got to wait to kind of do them things that I'm looking forward to doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair. And you, Martine, Dens, would you go out if we went into tier 2?
Me, to be honest, I think I would. Simply because I've missed not being able to do as much. That's literally my only reasons for it. I just want to get back to normality, and I want to not feel like I'm, literally locked down as such. And
yeah, I'm exactly the same. Exactly the same, Dens. I would.
Yeah.
I would go out.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, like I said earlier, I felt comfortable previously when we were allowed out to restaurants and stuff. I felt safer in restaurants than I did in some other settings. So for me, I wouldn't hesitate about going out. I understand why people would, and I think, Ed, your reasoning for not is absolutely spot on. But for me personally, I definitely would.
I think also one of the good things which I think those in charge have potentially got right is the amount of people that you can meet and socialize with under whatever roof of the place that you're in. So I think personally for myself, and maybe yourself too, for what it comes down to is being comfortable with the people that you're meeting with.
Yeah.
And socializing with them, whereas as normally you might be with somebody else as a mutual friend that you don't know. There's people that you'll meet, but because obviously people are restricted to their seats and tables, it's just going to be sort of a bubble that you're already in anyway, and probably just meeting the same people all the time.
Yeah. So which minimises the risk. I think if everyone adhered to that, and if everyone did that, and were only going out with their bubbles, so to speak, I think probably restaurants and stuff would actually be open everywhere. I think the issue is they're scared that people would be meeting up with people from all over the countries, and that way you then struggle, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Martine, would you go out?
Yeah, I would feel safe to. I don't think I would be going out like straight away. Not because I wouldn't feel safe going out to a restaurant, just because I don't think I'd go at the minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would eventually go back to it. But it's not. I wouldn't wait because I don't feel safe to go out into a restaurant or somewhere like that. Because, like you were saying, it feels quite safe. You're restricted to your tables with your small groups. Yeah, eventually I'd feel that I'd be able to go back out again like that. But it's not because I wouldn't feel safe that I would wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because obviously there's four of us on here, and there's sort of 3 different answers that we've had. So you can imagine up and down the country, you would have completely different sort of answers to it. And I think it's important that everybody knows that sort of how they feel is how they feel, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the fact that if stuff does reopen, to go out, but there's also nothing wrong with not going out if you don't feel comfortable doing that, because there are people in the same position as you. So it is just doing, I think, like Ed said at the start, do what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable going out right now, and like Martine, if you think, do you know what, I'd rather wait a little while until I feel completely safe, absolutely fine. You shouldn't be forced to go out by anyone. That's your choice. And so you stick to what you think is right. I think that's so important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we have a choice, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And in the great scheme of things, that if you've gone this long, it's like I said, it's looking positive, and hopefully it won't be much longer. So just stick to what you're doing. Don't necessarily be tempted by other people. Everyone's got what we've just talked about. Everyone's in their own position. Everyone's has their own different kind of circumstances that they need to deal with. So it's just a case of having a bit of empathy for each other, understanding each other's situation, and like I say, hopefully near into the future things will be nearly back to normal.
Yeah, definitely. So just leading on from that then, going on to the second point that we're going to cover today, if someone was to come to you and they say to you, oh, I'm struggling, or I'm a little bit anxious about all of the changes, or let's say we change to tier 2 and someone's asked them to go out and they're a little bit anxious about, do I go out with them or not? What should I say? If they come to you with these sort of anxieties in their head and they're not really sure, what sort of things should we be saying to them? What sort of things should we be doing to try and put them at ease, to make sure that they aren't feeling that way going forward?
I think one thing I'd say is just to be comfortable with those that you're surrounded by, and maybe keep a smaller circle, a smaller bubble.
Yeah.
I would just say, you know, it's not the end of the world. I know it can seem like that to some people, and you know, if someone's listening and they almost do feel like that, there's other ways to stay in contact with people. I mean, one thing I've done is just connect, you know, through a phone call, through a message, through Zoom. You will be able to still stay connected with someone, whether it's, you know, your local residents, whether it's neighbors. There will be someone out there, you know, whether it's us, we're about, you can get in touch with us. There's always someone you can connect with, so you're not alone. There's always someone you can turn to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you are the person that someone who is struggling comes to, I think it's important to just make sure that you listen and don't just try and solve the problem for them. So a lot of the time, people just need to get things off the chest. They're not actually looking for an answer to their problem. They are just looking for someone to actually talk to. So it's important to just be that person that listens rather than the person that tries to solve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
One other thing I'd say as well, is also, I think, to potentially try and enjoy your own company a little bit more, and don't sort of sink by yourself. You know, there's a few things that you can do to keep yourself occupied. If you need to have a breather but you don't want to be around so many people, you could go for maybe a little walk by yourself and just find some open space. One thing I used to do at times is I would go to maybe a local park or through the high street and just sit on a bench. I'd have my headphones on, just listen to music, things like that. Or maybe you would just sit out at the front of mine. Or perhaps if you have a garden, just get some fresh air that way and just stretch a little bit and just get in touch with nature. Maybe you can think about your future, things that you'd like to do, different ways to get there, and just maybe make a bit of a mental plan. Then when you're physically in a better position, you can put those mental plans in action.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really good advice. I know we've all spoke before about going out and getting fresh air and how much it helps us. So like you cannot underestimate how much of a difference that makes. So yeah, definitely great advice. If you are feeling like that, get out there and experience the fresh air. I know it's a little bit colder out there now, but actually if you wrap up warm, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a really good point, actually. It's quite a skill to enjoy your own time and be by yourself now, especially with social media, and you know, there's always something going on. And you know, I think it's like you just said, Denzel, it's good to reassure people that it's actually okay to enjoy your own company and not actually be doing anything. It's have a bit of downtime by yourself and find something that, you know, just a bit enjoy your own company. It's not a bad thing. It's something that people, I think, need to learn to do a bit more, actually.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all don't necessarily need to be, but I think it would help us all in the long run if we had a bit more of independence. Because if you're the opposite, you know, when there's times like the current state, or just times where, I don't know, for an example, if you're normally used to working and you're surrounded by people on a daily, next minute you're not working, only by yourself, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. You need to find that inner peace and be secure within yourself. And I think if you've got that mental mind state, you can get by the majority of things. And I think you'll appreciate yourself more too, and just feel better within yourself.
Great stuff. So that pretty much wraps up this week. Rather than doing a tip each this week, we're just going to do a quick overall tip. So as Denz has just been saying, if you are struggling yourself, try to get out there, try to experience nature, get outside, get some fresh air, and it will help clear your head. as he said, try and make some plans, things you're going to do, and I guarantee the fresh air will help. If you are the person that someone else comes to with anxieties or anything like that, as we've said, just try to listen, don't try to solve the problem, and just try to validate the sort of problems that they are having. So if they are struggling with certain things, listen to them and try to let them know that they're not the only ones going through that. And actually, especially with the situation as it is at the minute, so many people will be having exactly the same thoughts. So they are not alone. No one out there is alone. If we do have any questions sent in to us this week, if you want to just drop us a comment in the box at the bottom, and we will obviously answer them on the next podcast for you. But other than that, thank you very much for listening again this week, and we look forward to speaking to you all again soon. So thank you for all of us.